Hey everybody, welcome to episode 1 at Breakfast at Midnight, parentheses, working title. Got Fred here with me, Zach, and his friend over there. Why don't you introduce yourself because you're new on the show?
I'm Derek.
He's Derek,
Just
in case you didn't notice. Anyways, today we're going to talk about the same thing we did last time pretty much. Just anything nerdy, cool, video games, movies, just anything we feel like talking about, just kind of bullshitting around. I'll be vaping, they'll be smoking. First of all, one thing I wanted to bring up here to kind of get us started, I found this meme on Twitter, and I didn't show it to Fred yet. I'm going to go ahead and read it off, and I'm hoping that everybody's familiar with the content. If I can fucking find it. I don't think I even saved it. Well, there's production value for you. We got about 50 cents for the show. It's enough to keep the power on for 15 seconds. But the gist of it was basically that the theory of the third book of the Harry Potter, when they're going to sit down at Christmas and they're getting ready to get up, and Professor Trelawney is like, there's 13 people sitting here. The first person that that rises is going to die because it's a jinx or whatever. What they don't really acknowledge in the book is the fact that Scabbers is in Ron's pocket, who obviously is the bad guy. I can't remember his name is right off the top of my head. Fred, you remember?
What was this?
It was Wormtail was in his pocket at the time in Harry Potter. When they're sitting down they're all sitting down at the table for Christmas in the third book, and they go to rise at the end of the eating. Two people do, Harry and Ron, both at the same time. And Professor Trelawney says, when there's 13 people sitting, the first person to rise dies. It's a curse or whatever. But they don't acknowledge in the book that at that time, Scabbers is actually in Ron's pocket. So when Professor Dumbledore stands up to open a chair to let Professor Trelawney sit down, he is technically the first person to rise, when at that time there's 13 people before Professor Trelawney gets there. Are you still with me? So there's 12 people sitting there visually, but technically there's 13 at the time when Dumbledore stands up to allow Professor Trelawney to join, and at that time becomes 14 people, technically because of Scabbers in his pocket. You follow what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
So do you think this is something that was done possibly on purpose by JK, or something that just kind of happened and fit into the whole story and the lore?
I'm not the person to ask. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I have literally read 0 of the books, and
My
I've
level of
seen
disappointment
half
can't get higher.
of the films.
Has anybody seen Harry Potter but me?
I've seen all of the movies, but I mean, it's
Fucking
hard.
young
It's
kids
really
not reading
hard to
books.
say whether or not it was intentional. I could really see it going either way.
Whether or not what exactly was intentional? Like I heard you say Scabbers was in his pocket.
Well, basically, the idea that they're trying to put across is that when Harry and Ron stand at the end of that particular scene, if you want to call it that, Professor Trelawney announces when there's 13 people dining, the first to rise will die. Some kind of proverb or curse or whatever. She's obviously some crazy bitch. What they failed to acknowledge at that time, and you realize later on, that because Scabbers is in Ron's pocket at that time, technically before Professor Trelawney even joins them, there's already 13 people sitting at the table. So when Dumbledore stands up to offer his chair, being the gentleman that he is the first one that's going to die of that group of people, and then obviously later on he does in fact die. Boom, spoiler alert. Probably should have said that first.
Oh my god.
So do you see what I'm saying?
Wait, Gandalf died?
Magneto, why did you do this?
But do you see what I'm saying, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, do you think she really counts the rat as a person?
Well, because he is a person, though, technically speaking. Professor Trelawney, nobody knew that he was there. Only, obviously, the reader, knowing later on that who he was technically there. She's a pretty smart writer, JK is, and so I feel like maybe it could have been intentional. But it just seems like, that she wouldn't, I don't know if she realized then that, 3 or 4 books later Dumbledore is going to die, that she kind of had that wrapped around that happen. I mean, that's a lot to really put together. It might be just a convenient coincidence, but I'd like to think that maybe it was done on purpose, because it really fits well into the whole ideology that, Dumbledore dying, he was the first to stand, it's a curse, things that Trelawney says tends to come true, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, she keeps saying that Harry's going to die, and he ends up dying in the 7th book, technically, right?
Yeah,
Harry dies?
He does, but then he comes back. It's
Yeah.
like
Christ figure.
He had
He's a
to
cat.
die. he had to die. So, like, basically, Harry was the last of Voldemort's Horcruxes. So
I mean, no,
Harry had to die in order for Voldemort to be defeated, but he somehow came back because he's a good guy and fuck rules.
that makes sense. I don't know. I just haven't been. I've just never been a huge fan of Harry Potter, and part of that is because there are
Amanda-
people I didn't quite get along with when I was younger, and I was always surrounded by it, and because they liked it so much, I was emphatically against it.
Okay, so if you don't like this person because they like something, I got you. No, I've been the same way about stuff.
I mean, we're all petty when we're younger.
Yeah. What do you mean younger?
I don't do that kind of thing as much anymore, but I've never gotten back around
Well, friend you
to
right now if you don't like that.
watching or reading Harry Potter.
It's a good book, man. I think it's worth the read. I mean, the series, the movie series is really great too, but the books are even better, which is true for pretty much everything. Well, that's just how I wanted to open discussion. I guess we can kind of open the floor from there for anything you guys want to talk about. I have a couple other topics, but I'll kick those around later. Zach, did you have something you want to talk about today? I think you mentioned and we're talking about earlier.
Oh, I wasn't whining about anything. It just, Legion for World of Warcraft, the new expansion. It's making a lot of interesting changes. I don't even really know where to begin. It's just
PvP is a good place to start.
a lot of stuff. Like the transmog system, something that's kind of cool. It's taking on like a Diablo type of approach, where once you find the item, you will unlock it permanently as part of a wardrobe, and then you can then sell or trade the item or whatever. You no longer have to keep the item to have the transmog appearance option. You'll unlock the appearance, and then you'll be able to switch to it from any of your characters that can use that item type. You can just open a menu and bam, change your appearance from any item you've discovered in the game.
That's awesome. So you don't have to necessarily own the item. You just have to have seen it or held it or whatever at one point.
Right.
Okay.
They're also going back and adding all of your completed quest items, because they can see what quests you have flagged as completed, and they're adding like those transmog items as well. So it's going to go back through all of the quests you completed, and you'll have those.
That's awesome.
They're also they've completely redone the attack animations for all of the melee classes, so it looks a whole lot better. Like it's up to the standard of a lot of the newer MMOs now, as far as like the way the combat looks and feels, like both visually and they've improved the sound effects. It's just a lot more like visceral, like with the Fury Warrior, like it looks more like you're cutting into stuff rather than just kind of swinging aimlessly. That's like I've seen like YouTube videos, and it's a significant improvement. There's also going to be like world event things that will spawn around the zones and kind of like vary. Like you're never going to have the same ones, and they'll have different types of rewards. So you'll go and do them, and then you'll get a bonus loot chest for doing so many of them within the same zone. So that's again something kind of borrowed from Diablo 3.
What I was really interested was with the way they're kind of doing the PvP though. I don't know how much you read into that or not, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, honor talents. Basically, because they've had problems balancing both PvE and PvP together for a long time. So what they've done is they've completely removed PvP gear. Like gear is gear now. Like you can still get gear from PvP, but it is fundamentally no different from gear you would receive anywhere else.
Same stats or whatever.
Yeah, it's all dependent on item level. Also, in PvP, your stats are normalized now based on your class and spec. So, like, your item level supposedly is, like, going to give you, like, a modifier. So, like, several item levels you have will give you, like, a percentile increase over the norm. But that way you don't have people, like, at two opposite ends of the field. Like, you go in now, in Warlords of Draenor, let's say you get geared up from Heroic Dungeons. You're new to the game. You go into a battleground. You're at 630. This other guy's 715. You have no chance.
Yeah,
to
no, not
do
at
it.
all.
His effectiveness is well over 100, like a 100% increase from what you're capable
So
of.
they're basically closing the gap then.
Right. So like rather than 100% difference, it would be like a 5% difference. So like they've been playing longer, they have better shit, so they're better than you, but it's not such a complete dwarfed comparison.
Yeah.
They're also adding in honor talents and a prestige system, kind of like Call of Duty. Uh, the honor talents are like you'll have a separate page of talents, which will give you like PvP type abilities uh, that are only active in PvP, which again helps them balance the two different types of content because you can restrict use far easier that way. And then there's like the different tiers the way the talents are now, but rather than being an option the same way, like you unlock them slowly. Like so you'll work down so you complete a full set of talents first, and then you start unlocking additional options
Okay.
as you go up in honor ranks. And then once you go up, once you max out your honor rank, you have the option to prestige and like go back and reset your honor, so you no longer have all your talents, but you can get titles and other rewards like mounts. I think might have been mentioned, but in any case, yeah, definitely some cool stuff.
So the game is Legion, right?
Well, it's an
Yeah.
expansion.
Is it an expansion for what?
WoW.
Oh, an expansion for Legion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, it's expansion for
World
WoW.
of Warcraft.
For World of Warcraft.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's the name of the
Oh,
expansion.
How much is the expansion for the new?
I think it's $40 base, and then like 60 for the special, and then 80 for collectors or something like that.
And if you pre-order it, you get a free boost to 100,
Yeah.
so you can jump straight into Legion content when it comes out.
Nice, nice.
It's definitely worth buying. I mean, if only just for that $100 boost. I mean, obviously you're going to need to buy it for the content itself, but that level 100 boost means that right now you can get straight into endgame stuff, and then when it starts out, you're obviously right there in the running with everybody else, working towards the new endgame essentially. The way it works with like currently is if you buy the entire like set that they have, including the new expansion, you only get a level 90 boost, which still leaves you 10 levels away from endgame. Whereas with this, you get instant 100 and you're instant at endgame for the current expansion.
Sounds like a good deal.
So kind of branching off from that, I know we discussed a little bit before, but with the new World of Warcraft movie coming out, obviously the reviews were kind of hit and miss. We discussed that last episode. One thing I want to talk about, I don't know if we touched on, was how they're giving away free copies of the game at specific theaters. And I'm wondering, and maybe you guys can just kind of, confirm my thought process here, but I feel like maybe if you buy Legion, you should get a free ticket. I think that would, A, be cheaper out of their pocket than it would be giving away an entire, $50 game, for a $10, $15 ticket. I just think it's a better way to go.
World of Warcraft makes most of its money on subscriptions, not on the sales of its expansions. Now, granted, I'm sure they make money on those expansions, but they make the big bulk of Blizzard's money in general comes from WoW subscription costs.
I don't know if that's the case anymore since the microtransactions have happened. Like, there's purchasable mounts and pets, and you can now buy the.
Okay, I mean, but still, I doubt the sales of their. I still doubt the sales of their actual expansion packs and DLCs are really exceeding their subscriptions or microtransactions, though. So
yeah, I'll give you that. But no, I feel that
to give them away.
they're just they're using the movie as kind of a marketing to tie back into the game. Like
Yeah.
you go and see the movie, you're hyped up on Warcraft. You now have this free pass to jump into the game, and if you like it, you'll buy Legion, presumably, because you've already got these free games. Now that's
Yeah.
only one you need to buy. So it's like their effort to get new people into the game because WoW's been around for a long time.
Since
Most of their
2004.
markets.
Yeah.
Most of their markets have already been tapped. There's only so much they can do to pull true new customers in versus just bringing back existing ones.
Real quick, Zach,
So,
does that come with Draenor? Because I was under the impression it was just the stock thing, which does not include Draenor currently.
No, they tied Draenor into
Okay.
the stock
I wasn't
thing
sure.
as of release, I believe. So I believe it's everything except for Legion, but I could be mistaken.
Because right now, currently, you still have to buy Draenor on top of the existing game, if you will. Because technically, the existing game's all the way up to Pandaria or whatever, and then Pandaria need to buy Draenor, separate. So I'm assuming that,
Okay, so I believe Draenor is like $10 right now.
I think it's 20. I think I paid. It might be on sale, but I paid 20. I think that was like 2 months ago, so that might be different now, obviously. But they had announced Legion at that time too. Okay, so apparently the stock version, according to one of the viewers, is now including Draenor. So in 2 months, it's already changed. Congratulations. But even still, I mean, that is only, like, to buy the stock version of WoW, it's only $20. To buy, obviously, the expansion's another 40. So I just feel like if you buy the expansion, one ticket, and who goes to a movie by themselves, you're still going to buy probably a second, if not a third ticket. I just feel like that'd be a really cool thing to do. And would also encourage the sales of the expansion.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen, most people that stick around beyond like the first month or whatever, they already have a garrison set up usually, so they can make enough money to buy it. They might pay for 2 months, maybe. But most people that still play and come back are people that have the token system set up where they can just buy a token. And they don't technically pay for it. And I don't know how many tokens are actually being purchased by people with real money, and how many is being pushed into the system so there's tokens to be bought. That's what I mean. They obviously aren't going to post those figures, I don't believe, but I would like to think that there's not that many people buying the tokens with real cash to sell for the gold, and there's more people buying the tokens for the actual game time. And so I could see that being some money lost for them. Giving a free ticket, encouraging people to buy tickets to a movie, getting more people interested, that kind of thing, I think would only help them, and long term or whatever.
But I don't think there would be a one like you wouldn't be able to buy a token if someone hadn't bought one from the other side. Like one person buys a token and it posts to the auction, so another person can buy it. So and that's $20, so that's more than a subscription.
Correct. Let's say, but how many people actually buy those to sell them? Is there enough buying them to sell them for enough people? Because you'd have to imagine there's more people buying tokens than people selling. I would think, and so there has to be some tokens that are being put out there that no one's actually purchasing with real life money, and people are just buying to have the subscription. I mean, most people I talk to that play WoW, including you and Horsack, don't pay for the subscription. I've paid for it because I don't have the money income yet. But there does come a point where you have enough income where you don't have to pay anymore. You can just buy tokens.
Yeah, once you get things set up, like gold just comes to you.
Like there was like that one day where you gave me like 6K, and I was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "No, I just made 10. It's no big deal." It was like it was laughable the amount of money you could make.
Yeah, like right now I'm at like almost 130K on my Horde server, which isn't a lot by Warlords of Draenor standards, but you already know like all of the shit I've been buying. Like I've been helping various people with heirlooms and bags and like tons of people. Like I've been trying to recruit into the guild, and I've had friends coming back, and I got epic flying. So like I've got tons of gold coming out, yet it's just so much coming in.
That's what I think. Derek, do you have a topic you want to go over before we go into the next thing that me and Fred were talking about before the show?
No, not really, man. I live a pretty boring life. I don't really have much. I'm a Chargers fan, you know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
You talk about Rocket League.
I'm sorry.
We all are.
So let's talk about the Humble Bundle.
What?
So with Humble Bundle, and this is something maybe you would know, Derek, because I think you were just playing it, but as of last month, the free game that you got with Humble Bundle for the current monthly games that came out was Rocket League, which I still have yet to play, and I really need to get around to doing. I'm pulling up the current list. 1 second, where's it at? This isn't it. And here it is. So currently for June 2016, the Humble Bundle is going to be Rocket League, The Forest, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, Planetary Annihilation Titans, Dungeons of the Endless, Steridon, I don't know what that is, Wasted, and Catgirl Without a Salad. Total value, $140. I'm rounding up. You pay $12 a month. It's a fucking awesome subscription. It's really amazing. You usually get at least 3 games that you'll want to play and like. This month was particularly good. Now, Derek, because you've obviously been very quiet and you think you live a boring life, I assure you don't. Tell me about Rocket League, because I haven't played it. I have no fucking clue.
I'm mean, it basically is like soccer, but you're in cars.
Can you move the mic? I can't hear you.
It's basically like soccer, but there's a basketball mode on there too, which is ridiculous. But you're in cars, and they have boosters on them, and there's actually like a second part to it that I just found. Is you're basically like rockets. You can actually shoot off of the ground and actually like navigate your car through the air to hit the ball. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, so rocket-powered RC cars and 2v2, 3v3. I'm not sure if there's 5v5 or not, but it's basically like, yeah, soccer with RC cars with rocket power. It's amazing. You can fly. You can do like backflips. Like once you jump into the air, you can like jump again and hit a direction, and you'll like shoot off that way. Or again, like you can jump and then kind of angle your car and hit the boost, and you'll fly, which isn't useful a lot, but you can get some really badass plays with it if you time it right.
Any input, Fred?
I haven't got to play it yet. My bundle is still. I'm still waiting for the transaction to process,
You know,
so I don't have the
I'll
keys.
play it with you. It's fun.
Yeah, It's one that's been on my wish list since it came out. I was a fan of the first game, which was super powered acrobatic rocket battle cars or something along those lines.
Fucking mouthful.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was their first game. It was an Xbox Live indie. I think it might also be available on Steam, and that was fun. Then they did Rocket League, and the inclusion of just making it a soccer ball and like a sport rather than just driving around and wrecking chaos kind of created this new following that just made it huge. I mean, it won awards at the Game Awards last year. Like, everybody went crazy when the videos got thrown up for that.
It's
Like,
fun and addicting.
The biggest thing I think I see is the potential in esports, because it seems extremely competitive, and it seems to be really grabbing hold, much like League of Legends did early on, into the whole esport conversation. And I don't know if they were actually big enough to be on like a massive stage the way League is yet, or HOTS or anything like that, but it seems like it's heading in that direction very, very quickly if it hasn't already. I haven't really looked into it too much since the last time I kind of like eyed it over about a year ago. Maybe less than, I'm not sure exactly the last time it was I looked at it, but I mean, I'm looking at it now because obviously I just got it with that Humble Monthly, and I'm pretty excited to try it. Have you guys played The Forest at all?
I haven't played. I don't think I've played any of these. Let me check them out.
You played The Forest, Derek? Okay. I haven't played it. I've talked to people that have played it, and it's supposed to be kind of just like a single-player survival game, in the vein of Ark, 7 Days, H1Z1 Sword. I mean, just that kind of approach to it. Obviously, you've got to eat and drink. I haven't played it, so my information is very limited. But it's supposed to be pretty fucking creepy. Like a good blend of like Resident Evil early on, or even things along that, but creepier because it's survival. You've got to eat, you got to drink. You're hiding in the corner and someone sneaks the fuck up on you. I mean, just scary shit like that. You know what I mean? But the game that I want to talk about next, that I've actually played before, and it is ridiculously fun. It's a great party game. It's a great, even if you're just like Skyping friends, keep talking, nobody explodes. This I heard about through a friend, and I seen a gameplay of it on YouTube. The basic concept is one person is with the bomb. It's essentially they're playing it on their computer, and then everybody else, and it could be X amount of people, is going to be looking at a manual of how to solve these puzzles and which wire to clip. And it's got increasingly like difficult challenges, but it's really fun because you're sitting there with a timer and you're trying to solve this puzzle, and you're basically giving off information. You come up with code words. I think if anyone wants to play this, honestly, in my opinion, the biggest thing to learn first is the phonetic alphabet. If you don't know what that is, Google NATO phonetic alphabet. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, all that stuff. Because there's a lot of things involving reading off letters and stuff like that. And if you're trying to, remember what, C like cat, it's going to take forever to say that. Whereas if you're just saying Charlie, Bravo, Foxtrot, Alpha, people are going to pick up on it a lot faster, and you can solve the puzzles easier. But it's great for drinking, because when you're fucking hammered and trying to solve a puzzle and you're screaming at each other, nothing's funner. You know what I mean? Have you guys played that? I've got it. We should try it sometime. But have you played it yet?
No, I haven't played it, but it sounds fun.
Oh, dude, look up a
Yeah.
YouTube video sometime. It is fucking wicked fun. Planetary Annihilation Titans. I don't know if you guys have played that yet or not. I have, like, I think the original one. I think Fred actually gave that to me. It's one of the Steam games I have in my life. I've got like 100 and some games I've never played, but
Yeah.
I've heard that the Titans version is actually pretty decent. I heard the original was very meh. Or it might have been the other way around. I don't remember. Fred, do you have any idea?
I don't. I'm pretty sure Planetary Annihilation had an alright, like it was a niche game to begin with. Like it's a massive scale RTS, which RTS is already niche, and then you're gonna make it bigger, and so you're just continually shrinking your audience. But I heard it was pretty decent for what it was. I haven't heard anything about Titans, to be honest. So I'm really excited. As soon as this bundle pops up in my email, I'm gonna play all these games.
The next one on the list is Dungeon of... I don't know what that is, to be honest with you. Again, I've never even heard of it.
Dungeon of the Endless.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. I mean, you're obviously the indie guy. What do you know?
Oh yeah, Dungeon of the Endless. It came out a year ago or two. This is the Crystal Edition. It's supposed to be a really good roguelike, like kind of retro indie throwback game. Like roguelikes are. Well, I mean, they don't usually fit like a specific genre, but they're usually like RPG slash RTS slash tower defense kind of like mixed games. Like they're usually in those veins. But yeah, like it's another game. I don't know if I have it. I have so many games. But it's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be really good. It's got a lot of good reviews, and it's one that I've wanted to check out. But you know, I never get around to anything.
Pretty much. Then there's Steriden. I don't know what the fuck that is. Again, horse. Fred, do you have any idea?
What is?
Steriden. I mean, the last four indie games I've never heard of.
I mean, yeah, I haven't heard of any of these, but I am
So there you
excited
go.
to play all of them.
There you go. Oh, absolutely.
We'll definitely update you guys with our impressions of these games next week's episode for sure.
So, leading into the next months, obviously with Humble Monthly, every month you can actually pre-order the monthly for the next month and get a game of that release. I don't know if it's like really a hint towards the next month, because every time I've gotten a game, it's never been even remotely similar to the games they're getting ready to release in the next monthly, but it's Hurt World. I've played it extensively for a review I did on like open world survival games and stuff like that. It seems to be trying to be kind of like a Rust-esque game with more cartoony undertones, and I mean, all due respect to the devs, who I'm sure worked very, very hard on the game, it comes up short in so many areas. Obviously, it's still in early access. There's still plenty to be done on the game, but it's lacking a lot of quality of life things. It's very touch and go and buggy, and the PvP is really hampered by just big time server lag. Huge server lag. But that's it for the Humble Monthly, so we can go ahead and move on to the next topic, I suppose.
Have you guys talked much about Overwatch?
We talked about Overwatch last week, I think.
I think we can touch on it again, though, because obviously there's some updates coming out for it soon, some nerfs. One thing I would want to say about it is their anti-cheat system is the best I have ever seen in my 20-some years of gaming online. Halo 2 was kind of like the first one that really introduced that concept on consoles. I don't think there really was anything else. Obviously, Halo 2 was like the first online multiplayer period as far as consoles are concerned with shooters, but just to give you an idea of the situation, there's a guy that was using some kind of aimbot or hack. He got his account banned within 2 days. He bought a new copy, started a new account, was banned within a day. He cleared off his MAC address, started a new account, bought the game again, was banned within a day. He reset his computer, he fucking reformatted it, reset his MAC address, completely wiped everything, got a new router, changed the entire setup. Poured hundreds of dollars, I'm sure, into this effort. Bought a copy, was banned within 2 days. Blizzard is not fucking around with cheaters whatsoever. Especially with China. China's got probably the worst of it, but basically, if you're going to cheat in this game, you're not going to get anywhere with it. You might have a little bit of fun for a couple days, but you're going to be shelling out serious fucking money to keep playing. Did you want to talk about it, Derek? Because like, we dug into it a little bit. There's some other stuff I want to bring up, but I'm going to go ahead and pass the ball to you.
No, I didn't know anything much about that.
You're the one that asked about it.
No, I'm talking about what he was talking about.
Oh. Just talk about Overwatch in general.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We like voiced our opinions last week.
I mean, I think it's pretty cool, man. It's got a lot of variety to it, but I feel like it's one of those you kind of have to have several people kind of working with each other. It's not like Halo, or like one person can just go out and dominate. I mean, you have the tank characters, though. How do you guys feel about it? Like, were there any characters you guys liked?
I love Reinhardt. Go ahead, Fred.
I
You
love
always like
Hanzo.
that riot shield stuff, man. Just sitting there taking damage.
You haven't seen me play Reinhardt, so I'll forgive you for that statement. But you can watch my highlight videos later, and you can go ahead and wish you were good as me. Go ahead, Fred.
I love Hanzo. Like, I've played Widowmaker a few times and Reaper a couple times. Like, I've played a few of the different characters.
I don't like
But
that.
the one I've dug so far the most, Hanzo, that motherfucker, like he just knows how to fucking play. He's good. I like him.
I like the little dude that has the turrets, the one that builds them, not the one that you can upgrade the turrets.
Torbjorn.
Yeah.
I
That
haven't
dude's
played him
awesome.
yet. I haven't played him yet.
I was getting a lot of kills with him.
He's kind of a situational guy. Like he's a hard character to play because it has to be like if you're attacking, he's nearly impossible to use because you're constantly moving to like the next point, unless you're doing like a obviously taking care of like a car moving or whatever. If you're defending, it's really easy to set up but really hard to maintain. So he's got a really high skill cap.
I've only really played a little bit, and I think I was with Widowmaker. So I played a little bit. I'm gonna get it probably tonight. I think I haven't fully decided yet, but
Do it.
I played a little bit on the Xbox.
Do it.
Fred, you don't have Xbox One, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he's the reason we have
Yeah.
Overwatch
Right.
actually.
You should play Overwatch with us. Barney, you got Xbox One, don't you?
No, I got a fucking PC, bro.
Lebs.
Master Race.
Think you're all high and mighty, dirty Chiefs fan.
I can't hear you from my 980 Ti and 32 gigs of RAM. Could you speak up, please?
What?
Exactly. No, I mean I play a lot of Reinhardt. I also play a lot of like Reaper, and I play Genji a little bit, but I haven't played him much since I first started. Like I liked him early on, and then I started playing more Reinhardt, Reaper. I like McCree, but he's really heading for like a pretty, I wouldn't say heavy nerf, but they already put out a thing saying how they don't like how the fact you can use his stun and then fan the hammer and completely obliterate a tank, because if you do it right, you stun, fan the hammer, roll, fan the hammer, and most tanks will be dead. I mean, there's very few that could survive that. Reinhardt would be able to because of his shield, but it would take somebody timing it and not getting stuck behind, in front of them or something like that. But the way I play Reinhardt is I don't sit behind my shield. I just boost in and I scatter people and I just fucking lay waste. Because I play it, I know it's not a MOBA, and I've gone back and forth with people about this, but it has a lot of MOBA-like things. I mean, the ultimates, the way things are moved around the field, the way you coordinate, it doesn't play like a standard FPS to me. At least not the ones that I've played. It's a little bit different and it feels more like a MOBA. But I play him like an initiator, so I just boost in, I fucking just rattle people around, I take out anybody that deals damage that I can. If I have to take out a tank, I will. And my problem's always been I'm usually with groups that are like afraid to engage. I'm very aggressive. I'm extremely aggressive. And so when I engage like that, I expect my team to follow in behind me. Unless I'm playing with my friends in like TeamSpeak, I'm usually left fucking hanging, which has actually led to me having some really amazing games. I had one game where I didn't die once. I had one game where I had like 26 kills. At one point, I was on like a 10 kill streak with Reinhardt. I mean, I carried the team to victory. Absolutely. I actually put a video of that on YouTube. It was so fucking epic. But that's the way I play him. Like a lot of people just put up a shield and kind of walk forward slowly and hide behind it and rely on heals and just basically be a barrier to slowly move to a point. And I feel like that's the wrong way to play him. I think you use the shield to kind of get in position, and you use the shield to protect people as needed, especially if you're defending. But when you're like attacking, you need to be a lot more aggressive with him. That's how I play him, at least.
I didn't like Reinhardt a whole lot. I just felt like You always gotta get way too close.
It's probably just not your style then.
Yeah,
That's why
it's
there's
just
so
not.
many
I mean,
different types of
yeah,
characters.
you like playing the melee character on Fallout 4. I was all about the guns.
Dude, that's because it was broken. It was so broken. I didn't even finish that character, but like I was at level 30 something. I had power armor and electro
Super
sword.
Sledge.
Well, no, it was like an electrified
Oh,
sword because it was faster. Like I like the faster swing speed. Like because of like some of the smaller enemies, like the hammer swing speed, got on my nerves. And yeah, but I just started lopping people's heads off pretty early, and it was ridiculous.
I feel that way about a lot of those games where they allow you to customize your guns, especially once you get towards the end of the game. They make you able to get guns that are just overpowered. Like, I don't think you got as into the Dead Space series as I did.
No,
But in
not
that
really.
game, towards the end, you can make some ridiculous guns where you can just freeze enemies and then just blast them with like a Gatling gun, and that's something that they never did in Dead Space. And they did the same kind of thing in Fallout. Like once you get to a certain level, if you have the right kind of stuff, you just wreck everything.
Yeah.
I used guns in my first playthrough, and some in my second. My second playthrough, I did go for more melee, but like in the first playthrough I did, by the time I got to level 45, I never ran out of fucking juice for my power armor, which I never wore because of my guns and stuff I was so proficient with. I didn't use VATS. I would just lay waste to everything. I would go up against a boss and I would have him down in about 5 seconds. So I mean, I haven't done that in survival mode. I don't know if that fixes that, but there is a point in Fallout 4 where you get so powerful, things just become irrelevant. And I don't really remember that being the case in 3 or New Vegas. Then again, in those, I never got to like level 30 something. I always had the game beaten by the time I was like level 20 something.
Well, in Fallout 3, 20 was the max level until the DLC, which made it
Exactly.
30.
That's
And
probably why I remember that.
New Vegas max level I think was like 35, maybe 40.
But yeah, the new survival mode, like I'm not sure if it's in beta still or if it's actually come out, but the
I think
new
it's out now.
survival, yeah, it's awesome. Like you actually have to worry about thirst and hunger and everything. Like it only saves when you sleep, so you can't just be out adventuring for forever. And because if you die, you can potentially lose a lot of time. Like so, you have to drink, you have to eat, you have to sleep. So it really changes the way you play the game.
That's actually been a feature for PC fans for a long time because of mods. I would just want it because of the increased difficulty. Because when you get that powerful, it gets boring. I've never enjoyed games where you cheat to like Grand Theft Auto. I never cheated money or cars in because I wanted that. I wanted the struggle to make the game enjoyable longer. Enjoyment was longer that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the cheats were the best part of GTA.
I think the cheats were fun to mess around with,
That's
but
all I did.
if you didn't play the game serious,
Yeah.
like it's not. I don't know, but yeah,
I thought it got boring
agree
quick.
with the Fallout difficulty, especially with a game like Fallout. I feel like the survival mode level difficulty makes it far more immersive in RPG like because you
Oh, yeah.
get far more out of the world than you would otherwise because it forces you to interact with the world in a way you didn't before. Before again, you were just trudging through and shitting all over everything. Now you kind of are just there with everything else.
This is another reason I think
Respect what the world is.
New Vegas kind of set the bar for the modern Fallout games, and that it introduced the survival mode. It introduced so many things that they really wanted to be in the original canceled Fallout 3, and they were able to capitalize a lot of the story they wanted to do, a lot of the features they wanted to do, and put that into the new Fallout 3, or new at the time, modified Fallout 3 engine for New Vegas. And I feel like 4 took a lot of cues from the things that New Vegas did, and even down to waiting to release mods. Like, I think had a lot to do with them understanding that the community is really what drives Fallout. I don't think they got that with 3. I don't think they understood when they did 3 and all of its DLC that it was the community that made 1, 2, and Tactics, like, have such, like, that's the reason the franchise has carried on like it has. Like, it was a sleeper franchise for a long time, and 3 brought it into the mainstream, sure. But I don't think Bethesda knew or was ready for that kind of community.
They definitely knew when they did 4. I mean, they never done a fucking stage setup kind of fucking announcement for anything. And then with 4, they were finally like, okay, we're actually going to do this. I mean, they really realized and embraced the community. I mean, they've been very
They did.
vocal about that.
I mean, I've had my complaints about Bethesda. Don't get me wrong. I love them as a company. I love the games they've put out. But when it comes to Fallout, I've had my criticisms of Bethesda's handling of it. From the lawsuits to the actual development of the games to everything in between, I've had my criticisms of them. But I think Fallout 4, while it still is not quite what I expect from a Fallout game, it is way better than 3.
Play it on the new survival if you haven't already.
Oh, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. As soon as I have like some real downtime and I'm not exhausted, like I want to get through and I want to start streaming and running through games.
Yeah, but I believe they also added weapon durability back in, and ammo has weight, which means you can no longer.
Which is critical.
Right, you can't carry around 100 missiles. I mean, a missile has to weigh several pounds, right? It's a missile.
That was my key.
Right.
That's how I dominated. There was no.
Noob tubing.
It makes the
By
game
the
more
end of the
realistic.
game, I was just
Right.
running around with
Go into survival mode with maximum strength,
buying them
maximum
whenever.
endurance, and like
How?
Derek, you look like a noob tuber.
Not at all. I was a sniper. I was a rifleman, man.
I'm just saying, go in there with like strength, like a lot of strength, so you can carry all the missiles, and then like build up your gun perk tree, and you'll be fine.
I had everything.
Survival mode tactics with Fred.
Yeah.
Build missiles, blow it up.
I mean, if missiles are your bread and butter, I mean, you gotta survive.
I had everything. I focused on heavy weapons towards the end, like the Gatling gun and that kind of stuff. But I used rifles like snipers and assault rifles throughout the whole thing. And just
Yeah, I feel like the survival mode does a really good job of making you weigh like the risk and reward of a situation. Like there's sometimes where you look at something and you're like, actually, I'm just gonna keep going. Whereas in like even like the old survival mode, it's like, oh hey, there's another thing I can kill and loot. Like occasionally I would die because something I didn't expect happened. But again, after like I think everybody's pretty much said, after a certain point, you're just a god in the normal setup.
Yeah.
One thing I want to address with Fallout 4, they obviously have mods now on consoles. I don't know if we've talked about this before or not. But apparently, and this was brought to my attention by a friend because I don't obviously have Xbox One, there's a 2 GB limit on the mods you can put on the console. Like, have you guys messed around with the mods at all on the Xbox One? Because on PC, that would be a massive fucking hindrance. I mean, just to give you an idea, my Skyrim mods, which I have quite a few of, and they're almost all visceral, there's very few that aren't, goes above, like, I think 10 gigs. So I don't know how, and I'm trying to check right now how much, because I've only got a handful of Fallout 4 mods, but I can't imagine that you could get enough mods on there to really be satisfied with 2 GB limit. And my friend said they're supposed to be like raising that eventually, but I feel like that's really tying your arm behind your back when it comes to mods with Fallout, because the graphics ones are usually the most intensive, and they take a lot of fucking space.
I mean, this is going off past experience, not experience with Fallout 4 specifically. But from developers I've talked to in the past, a lot of them have said that it creates innovativeness, because you'll have people who will want their mods on the console and will insist that it's console available. And what they'll do is find the most efficient way to make these mods as vast and filling and satisfying as possible within the limits. And so you'll end up with these fantastic mods that will take up way less space and will be just as big, in my opinion, as like a lot of the mods you have, because they don't have to. On a PC, you don't have to go back and clean up and remove things that maybe, like, some of those mods might have files or things that aren't even used. Hell, the game you play has textures and character models that are probably on the disc and not ever playable in game. Those are the extra things that the developers used and decided they didn't need anymore, but it didn't take up enough room or wasn't really a necessity to get rid of. I mean, that's how things like Hot Coffee existed with GTA.
Well, just to give you an idea, like when it comes to the texture mods, there's not a way to limit the space it's taking up without degrading the quality because it's an image, right? And
This is true.
so like,
But the texture mod. But I'm saying like if you're
which is the
actually
biggest part
them
though.
adding in like see, when it comes to console, I don't think I'm gonna be like I'm not one that's huge on texture mods anyway. Like I'm an old school gamer through and through. Give me some good gameplay. I don't care how crappy it looks. Like as long as the gameplay is good and it's smooth and I don't have that disconnect, we're good.
Well, you can see you're probably a part of the minority of that though. I would think that most people are wanting to push the graphics to the limit.
But it's a console. Like your graphics are set. Like if you wanted to push your graphics, you're gonna be on PC where you're not gonna have the mod restriction anyway.
I've got plenty of friends that would disagree though.
Graphics restriction to begin with, for that matter.
I feel like most of the console people who are getting mods are probably getting new settlements. They're probably getting new stories.
Why? Fuck! There's too many settlements to begin with.
Settlement City. Like honestly, like Fallout 4 should have been called Fallout 4 Settlements.
He keeps saying he has something new, but it's the same fucking thing over and over again. Go take care of a settlement. Fuck you, you go take care of a settlement. I'm the general, but I've got to carry the fucking weight of the whole army? Make that guy go do it. He's sitting there fucking nailing a fan to the wall. Who nails a fan to the wall? Seriously.
17 hours straight.
Struggling.
Oh shit, the layer of the waste is here. Act busy.
Right? And that one chick that does nothing but fucking whine and complain the whole fucking time as you're like feeding and clothing her, putting a roof over her head and protecting her from bandits, but she still finds something to complain about. Like, can somebody come dick this bitch down so she'll shut the fuck up for 5 minutes, please?
Nobody wants to dig down Marcy.
Her son died and she was a dick about it ever since.
And now I feel bad.
Did you not catch that in the opening?
No, I couldn't stand her.
Oh, well, yeah, she's kind of a bitch, but I believe her kid died.
Yeah.
I tried to kill her so many times.
I mean,
Like,
if I was a kid, I would have died too. I
The
would be with her all the time.
Us to lead her into a more tolerable state. I'm cool with her being bitchy for a while. Your kid died, but eventually you've got to become a productive member of this community.
right? Like, I got so pissed off at her, and I don't think it's in my save anymore, but I built a fucking tower that I guided her up to the top of, and I fucking locked her up there, and I removed the fucking stairs, and it was just her floating up above, so I didn't have to fucking hear from her anymore. I was so sick and tired of her shit.
Did you see, like, with the workshop mod, like, people had a heyday. They trapped her in cages with death claws and shit. It's like the world's most hated NPC.
Oh my god. Like, I would rather have Navi from fucking Ocarina of Time than her. That's how fucking bad she is. Not Mama Murphy. I like Mama Murphy. No, I'm talking about fucking what's-her-face. The one that, I don't know what her name is, but she was a straight-up bitch. I couldn't stand her at all.
Pretty sure it's Marcy Long.
Is it Marcy?
I think so.
I haven't played in a long time. I don't know. It's been a few months since I played Fallout
Yeah.
4.
Mama Murphy? Is that who it is?
No, that's the old woman. I liked her. She liked to get high.
Yeah.
Fucking, I can get down with that.
I liked her. She was like a little stoner who liked to tell the future when she was high.
Right? Yeah, right?
She's on all them fucking pills and shit.
Honestly, some things I would love to see from the Fallout franchise. I would love to see, at this point, I would love to see a new tactics game. But maybe more in the vein of a real-time strategy, or if it is turn-based, in the
I would
vein
like
of
that.
like Civilization. Since they've already dabbled with the settlements, let's fully embrace this. Let's have a base builder game, Civilization, kind of like whatever, where you emerge from the vault and you create your settlement in your town, and you have to compete against the raiders and the other, towns and.
Did you not like Sim Tower Fallout 4 Edition?
Yeah, that's basically what it wants to be. What I want it to be.
Well, that's a fucking Android game.
No.
iOS
as far
too.
as the Android game goes, I want them to take XCOM and apply the Fallout Shelter treatment to it. So
Okay.
when you're building your base and you go out and you have like whatever, like that is Fallout Shelter only with aliens instead. Like, because you have
Okay.
your base you're building and your researches and all that whatever.
And people are
then
hooking up and making babies.
And then instead of like just sending somebody out into the waste where it like does it on its own and doesn't like show you anything, it's just a text based like, oh, you came across the whatever.
You
and
see
you
them
had to
running
kill
like
the dog.
this?
Like, I think it would be cool to have the tactical side of the XCOM be your Fallout people being sent out into the waste, your Vault people being sent out into the waste to go fight the ghouls and the fucking raiders and shit. And I would love to see both of those. Fallout Shelter is something that I wanted for a long time.
I think you mentioned that for me.
I was greatly let down by how simple it was. Because I have, like, you can go on my Tumblr back to, like, 2012, where I'm talking about a Fallout game that would be basically a vault management tycoon, business tycoon kind of management game. Like SimCity or Roller Coaster Tycoon or, you know, games along those lines.
Have you played Fallout Shelter?
I did. It was too simple. It was too mobile-ish. I'm not a big fan of mobile games because it's like, oh, click these buttons here and collect such and such, and then come back in a few hours and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I want a game I can play. I don't want a game that I have to babysit every couple hours.
Check chat really quick. See what Formir said.
Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Like Age of Empires or Civilization. Like that would
I'd
be a
prefer
real
that over
concept
Civ
difference.
because I really haven't played a lot of Civ, but I'm more a fan of the real time versus the turn based.
Well, Fallout Tactics historically is tactics games are your turn based, so that's kind of how Fallout Tactics was a turn based strategy game. So think Command and Conquer only taking turns or Civilization.
No, I've played Civ.
It had like your grid base. You had
Mhm.
your troops and whatever, and you had to advance them and so on. But yeah, I would love a real time strategy in the vein of like Dune or Age of Empires, you know, something like that. Or even like a turn-based, but in the vein of, like I said, Civilization or, you know, SimCity or something, you know?
That would be cool.
My only concern would be it would go kind of the way of like Halo Wars, which was decent, but it never really got its full potential. And it was a game that was kind of pawned off to somebody else. And Bethesda is, I think, in my opinion, kind of notorious for doing that kind of thing. And look at Elder Scrolls Online. They pawned that off to somebody else that had more experience doing that kind of thing. And I feel like if they don't embrace it and do it themselves, it's not going to have that flair.
They actually created their own team, a new development studio for Elder Scrolls Online.
I know, but it was a group of people that had experience in the field, and I just didn't. I've played ESO. I bought into ESO. I bought the fucking special edition when it first came out. I was all on the hype train, and then I played it after launch, and it was nowhere near the same thing as like before it launched, like the beta. It was different. It was buggy. I've played it since it's been fixed, and it's just not an Elder Scrolls experience to me. It's got the skin on it, but it's not that fun. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I didn't enjoy it. So I'm afraid if they were to do the same thing, create a studio or pawn it off to somebody else to make this, RTS / turn-based thing for, Fallout, it would lose luster. I think they have to really bring some of their core people and not necessarily put the whole team on it, but put together another team for it and bring in some of their core people. That way they get the same feeling of the game. Otherwise, because you're going to have different people, you're going to have different, mannerisms and stuff bringing it into the game, it's going to be an issue, and it's going to take away from the quality of the game. Just in my opinion.
I can feel that. But like I said, even that aside, even if they do pawn it off to somebody else, the original Fallout Tactics wasn't done by Black Isle. It was done by a different development company. I think it'd be possible. Either way, it's 2K that does XCOM, isn't it?
I think so.
I'm not really
I have
sure.
it, but I've never played it. Got another Humble Monthly.
I'm pretty sure I have it over here. Like, I have almost all the XCOM games. I've been a fan of them since the 90s. Yeah, Firaxis and 2K. Firaxis is Sid Meier's company. They're the ones who do Civilization. Which, I think Firaxis could handle a Fallout.
Something like that, I wouldn't have a huge. I would still want them to have their core people doing it, but I wouldn't be opposed to that.
There's a fan rumor. I don't know if you've seen this. There's a fan rumor that ties XCOM into Fallout pretty decently.
Oh, like a canon type thing.
Yeah, like the two universes mesh quite well. So if you place XCOM, if you look at XCOM 1, it's a 1950s very old school 60s spy-ish kind of like feel of your feds and everything.
Mhm.
when the aliens first make contact and we start having the wars and the development of technology. This is very similar to what happened pre-bombs dropping in the Fallout universe. You had the aliens who made contact and the wars of people trying to, with each other, trying to have the limited resources the aliens brought with them, and making reverse engineered versions out of materials we do have abundances of. And it just like this huge list that combine the two universes, and they feed in very well. There's a few discrepancies, but overall, you have the shadow governments that's running everything behind the scenes. You have the people who are trying to prepare the people, and the people who are trying to manipulate and exploit the people doing that. And so you have all the different layers. It all exists. The timeline's mashed. And I just think it would be great to have that development team actually tackle a Fallout game in the same vein. I mean, and this wouldn't be unheard of in the game universe anyway, with games like, Street Fighter X Tekken, or SNK versus Capcom, Marvel versus Capcom, DC versus Mortal Kombat. There's some tactics games like, what is the name of that game? All-Star Battle something. It's a PlayStation game, and it includes a whole bunch of characters. There's a Japanese one. I don't remember the name.
Kind of like Smash
Also,
Brothers too, bringing all the different like game characters together.
Yeah. So like, I could definitely see a crossover. Oh, like Devil May Cry, when they let the guy who did Castlevania did one of the Devil May Cry games. They were like, we want you to reboot the series and do your own version of Devil May Cry in your own style. And I think that's cool that game companies do.
It's artistic.
I would love somebody to say, hey, you're a great game company. We love how you develop your games. We want you to do a spin on Fallout. Or we would like you to do like your style of game on Fallout. And that's really, like you mentioned, Halo Wars. And I want to say, like, Halo Wars was vastly underappreciated for the most part because it was a console real-time strategy, which is never done well. And while it was developed exclusively to be that, and it did it very well, the stigma that RTSs don't belong on console already existed, and it persisted throughout that. And then the fact that it was Ensemble, the same people who did
Age of Empires.
Yeah, Age of Empires, they did those games and a few others. It was their last game. They were told halfway through the development that they were going to be closed down after, and this is the last thing that they were working on. And half of the team got let go during the development of that. So I'm not surped that
It suffered
there was
that much,
a huge
yeah.
push for it, because the company was being shuttered as the game was being developed. Like there was no heart in it, and I can't blame them for that. When somebody tells you that this is the last game you're going to make with this company, you need to find another job. Your primary thought is not getting that game out the door. It's going to be, how do I feed my family and my kids?
Where's the next job coming from?
A few months from now.
No, I get that. I played it, and I have the same feeling for that as I do for Halo Reach, where it just did not feel Halo canon to me. Yes, it had the same characters, it had the storyline, it was in the universe, but like Halo Reach for me was just a fucking atrocity, as much as ODST was. It was fucking terrible. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of people that like Reach, but it changed so much from what we understood to be in the books and stuff like that I couldn't enjoy it. You know what I mean? And with Halo Wars, I had the same issue. It's just, it was fun, but it wasn't, obviously, being on a console, there's a lot that it takes away from, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. And I didn't realize they actually had that problem halfway through development, and that would have made a lot more sense, but I still didn't like the fact that it was moved over to a different company. I would have preferred Bungie picking up. What happened to that? There it goes. We lost video.
Yeah, I see that. What happened?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, then.
It's still loading.
At night in the dark.
I mean, there we go. Everything's back up. Well, Zach's
Not on mine's not.
I see you, Barney.
Alright, go ahead and re-invite us, Fred.
Your video is working, so.
Close your video and reopen your video. Maybe that'll fix it.
I just tried that. It worked for like a second, it looked like.
Barney, your video's up.
No, I know it is, but I don't see you guys. And my camera's not like... Oh, I think that's going to be it. don't think it's gonna work.
Your camera's back up for me.
Yeah, I can't see you guys. I don't know if it's got me like everyone. Like,
I'm gonna hang up. Just recall the group.
yep.
There we
There's
go.
Zach. There we go. Okay. Back to normal. But I never felt that it really fit well with the other Halo games. The first 3 were great, and then 4 I thought worked well, even though I know that wasn't a popular thing. But Reach for me was just so shit. But that was me again.
Um,
3
Nah,
was my
I
favorite.
liked Reach because one, I didn't read the books. I didn't follow
I read the
any
books,
of
see?
the out of. I didn't follow any of the out of game content. So for me, it was only what I saw in games, and so the story wasn't that far off for me. It wasn't
No.
like I'm sitting here like that's not how it happens because this stuff had.
You didn't know any better.
About, you know, and to me, Reach was good because it reminded me of playing Halo 1, which I get bashed for this because I think Halo 1 was better than 2.
I think
See?
2 is more.
See,
I think 2 is more innovative, but the storyline did feel longer. I just think there was more story in the second. There's more going on in the second, whereas the first it was.
I think 1 was a better game in every aspect except multiplayer, and even in multiplayer, I think 1 was better in a lot of ways. It just wasn't as fluid for competition.
3 was
No.
best.
See?
I think
But,
4
like I
was
said,
best for
No one
multiplayer.
ever agrees with me. I think 1 was the best. You had your fall damage. You had your health pack. It reminded me of classic first-person shooter games.
Marathon.
It reminded me of that classic old school feel and it set the bar. You know, it set the bar for console shooters. It did. And when Halo 2 came out, it was basically like, here's the gameplay for Halo 1, but we took away fall damage, we took away health packs, and we made it so you can carry 2 weapons now. And I was just like, that kind of has made it on easy mode. That's just how I felt about it. And I felt Reach managed to bring forward a lot of the things that I loved about 1 while tying in the things I loved about 3.
I just didn't. The multiplayer for me was meh, and the story for me was really hard to fucking swallow because of having read the books and being so enthralled with the actual story and stuff like that, and following it as closely as I did. That was just such a fucking blasphemy for me. How they changed so much of like what things were. That's why I had a problem with it. And then 4, I think, kind of brought it back on track from what I understood. And then I haven't played 5, so I have no idea. I really don't. I'll have to, someday borrow somebody's console. Or do they still rent consoles at video stores? Is that still a thing? I doubt it.
Are video stores still a thing?
There's one around the corner. I've never been there. I know it's. I'm starting to wonder if it's like I wonder if it's like a mafia front. You know what I mean? That's
You're
what they keep
gonna
them
go
open.
in and you're gonna get a console you've never heard of before
Yeah.
because it looks cool, and then it's gonna like zap you into another world. And when you come back out, you're gonna walk around the corner to that video store, and it's gonna be abandoned for years.
Like Monster Rancher. You wearing my skates?
The never-ending story.
Yeah.
That actually does fairly well. That's because it's like right next to a Little Caesars, so the businesses kind of feed each other. Like there's movies
Yeah.
and pizza there.
Yeah. See that we have a family. There's no pizza place near, but it's still open. People, I'm assuming, still go there. I really honestly don't know. But I used to that's why when I first played Xbox, that's how I played it. I went and rented it for a week to see if I'd like it or not. Because at the time I had a PS2, and once I played it for like 2 days, I was like, "Yep, getting this." I went and pawned my PS2. Every single game I had, I pawned. I think I sold rather to a GameStop. I didn't pawn it. I sold my GameCube that I didn't play anymore. All the games I had for that, all my controllers. I had some PlayStation 1 stuff. I mean, I sold everything I had, all my video games, and all I had when I walked out of the store was the Xbox, Halo, and Crazy Taxi. I had 2 games, and I played the living shit out of both of them and slowly just started to rebuild my library. But it was probably one of the best purchases I ever made. I really liked it. Because the Xbox One for me was better than the PS2.
Well, everybody knows how I feel about
Once
the
they got
PlayStation.
rid of the Mammoth controllers.
I got big hands, dude, so it makes sense for me.
I have fairly large hands too, but I don't know. That's a little much.
Well, they also came out with the smaller controllers, I think, like within the first year. Not even that.
Yeah. I couldn't get behind the Duke controllers. I'll be honest. The Duke big ass Xbox original controllers.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
It's because they were trying to like make this huge fucking big, they thought people wanted huge, consoles, huge controllers. They thought it was supposed to be Americanized, and then they realized when it failed as bad as it did in the Japanese market that wasn't the case.
Yeah, well, on the other side, it failed bad in the Japanese market, and the original Duke controllers were trash. Like, the size of the console, like, they realized quick, even in America, bigger doesn't mean better anymore. Like, it used to. That's an old mindset. But let's be fair, Microsoft has never been one for the hardware industry before that. They were all software.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I think we're actually getting really close to calling this, guys, because we're at just a little over an hour. So I think we should probably start winding down. Did you have anything else you guys wanted to talk about or bring up?
Yeah, he says he's barefoot. I bet he ain't.
Any games that the viewers have at the moment would like us to, or people in the YouTube comments when this gets uploaded later, would like us to check out and talk about.
Hey, don't forget to like and comment, please. Yeah, any games you guys want to talk about, us to check out. I have started testing Rock. That's at www.rockthegame.com, and I'll type it in really quick to hear, and I'll put a link for it on the YouTube channel. I'm going to do an actual full podcast with the Pixel Gurus podcast for that game, and Fred's going to be joining us for that as well. But it's pretty cool. I mean, it's extremely early access. It's a demo more than anything else. I mean, you can kind of try out a few of the features and explore and see the environment, and it's really well done for what it is. It's running on the Unreal Engine, which obviously gives it a leg up to begin with, but it's basically going to be Feed the Beast for adults. And I'm extremely excited for that, because I love Feed the Beast, but it is very, no matter what you do, still Minecraft and still very light, whereas this is, giving you kind of the aspects of space engineers, survival type stuff, but I'm hoping they're going to focus more on PvP, and it seems like they're heading towards that, you know what I mean? And that's what I like about it the most, is the fact that they're not just looking to be a builder game. They want to have a lot more complicated stuff going on versus just slap this down, build this up, and fly it around and break it, and then build a new one, which for me gets very boring.
Yeah, I can agree.
But yeah, I think that's it for us tonight, guys. Thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, follow, all that good stuff. Subscribe. Zach, you gonna buy Overwatch? Wanna play some Overwatch?
I'm strongly considering it. I'll decide here in the next several minutes.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Fred, thanks for coming out. Zach, thanks for coming out. Me, thanks for coming out. Hopefully, Snappy will be back with us next week. We miss him dearly. So, I miss you, Snappy.
We all miss you.
But yeah, thanks you guys for coming out.